All right, Kelly Pavlik here in the studio. How you
What's
doing,
up,
bud?
man? What's
How you
going
been?
on? I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. So I was creeping on Instagram and watching you work with some of these athletes that down at your gym.
Yeah.
How's that been?
Cool. Believe me, I asked some of them guy people are like, "Oh, come on." And I'm like, "Listen, I don't want to do these videos as much as you." Well, I do, but it's hard, and sometimes you feel tacky, corny doing them. But the cool side of it is, though, you see a lot of the comments on there. People are like, "Man, we love this, and it helps us." And so it's kind of cool too. But it's just hard coming up with material and stuff like that. But I always try to find like what's new, what's good for the beginner. Advanced people, I could go all day long, but you only have a minute on those. So it's
Right.
kind of like the basic for like the beginners and newcomers to the sport. It's pretty fun doing that. So.
I saw Zion was down there. You got any other up and comers that you think got potential?
Not right now. I work with a lot of boxers, but I do mostly strength conditioning. Strength conditioning is kind of my love now. I think it's great. I love doing it. I've had a lot of experience in it. But yeah, I still work with Zion here and there on some of her boxing. There's sometimes a good amount to still work on, especially at her age. It's good to kind of get her, younger to work on that stuff. But yeah, I'm working with her. I got some guys from Jack Lowe's gym that I do strength conditioning. I had a bunch there for a while. I had, guys from actually even not as far as Warren. So, yeah, it keeps me busy.
And so, I maybe not everybody has seen the business side of Kelly Pavlik, but what I appreciate most about you is that you've support the area and you're a savvy business guy, so you're drilling money and your skill back into the community here, and so lots of projects on the horizon here. I'm assuming,
Yeah, fun ones too. Yeah, I like staying busy. When I retired, it was I was done with the sport. To be honest with you, I had a lot of animosity, didn't like it. And then probably about 3 or 4 years, after I retired, I started kind of getting back into it, and it started off with a podcast, and then the podcast went into buying the gym in Columbiana, and then as that gym was open, it went into strength and conditioning and working with people because, I would be there and somebody would come up and ask me a question on a workout, or what did you do to lose weight? What did you do to get strong? And a lot of it actually was kind of funny. A guy wanted to get strong but didn't want to put muscle or size on, so that was right up my alley there.
Heck yeah.
Like I was going, okay, well, and I started getting them on some functional strength training, and then I moved into that, and the next thing you know, I'm like, I'm retired, and I didn't really ever want to work again. But next
You're
thing I
working
know,
your ass
yeah,
off
now
now.
I'm like, yeah, but it's fun too, and like I'll never forget my secretary the other day was just like, yeah, you got to make sure you're in here at 8 in the morning. I was like I know I'm here a lot and I know I'm working a lot. I was like, but I'm retired. Like I'm not getting here at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but yeah, next thing I know, I'm there, and like right now I got probably about 26 to 27 different athletes.
Wow.
And now what makes it crazy on that is, the age group is from 6, 7 to 31, 32 years old. And it's boxing, wrestling, football, basketball, baseball. And you got to come up with these different workout programs because each sport is different. Each sport asks for, different training. And so that makes it kind of hard too. Like sometimes I just sit there and I'm going, what am I going to draw up for this person? Like I've been here all day long training everybody. I didn't have time to get to this person. So a lot of the workouts are on the whim, but it's great too because it's something different and it shocks the body, and the athletes like it. So it's cool.
Now, in high school and college, it's become so competitive where, like, when I was a kid, you showed up and you played your summer ball or your
Yeah.
whatever. But now you got these kids that are in the off season are playing like road leagues, and they're in and working with specialists and private coachings and
Yeah.
whatever, just because of the payoff. If you make it into the majors, there's some real money involved.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you what, it makes it hard for me and people like me, strength and conditioning coaches, because really good point that you brought up. I'll get kids that'll come to the gym to work out with me, strength and conditioning, right? And they're like, "Oh man, well I just had to go. I went to this person and I had to do this for the basketball, and my legs are sore because we jumped a
Ooh,
lot."
yeah.
And I'm going, "Well, today was a leg day. We were working on jump because I'm real big with the fast twitch muscle. You know what I mean? In all sports, explosive work and initial power and force that you're getting off is really important. So for me, on a fast twitch day, I don't want them leaving the gym. I don't want them even leaving. I want when they leave, I want them to feel like they could jump 10 feet and touch rim and slam dunk still, right? Because the moment you go in and you start like pounding that muscle and making them tired, well, we're no longer working a fast twitch. You know, we're kind of defeated the whole purpose of that workout.
Right.
Like we have our days for strength and conditioning, you know, the endurance days, and then there's their days where I just want to work on fast, explosive work. Well, with the fast twitch and the training on that, and there's actually a lot of trainers out there that don't even understand that or realize that, but you don't want to tire the fast twitch muscle, right? You know, because you want to be able to keep working on that and exploding. And these guys, these athletes come to me and they're like, "Yeah, well, yeah, we just jumped. I did an hour and a half of running and this and that." And I'm
They're
going,
worn out by
"Yeah."
then.
So now I got this whole workout plan that I had, and they never forewarned me on it. And this
Right.
whole workout plan I had is now I have to switch it last second, and I can't take my time because I got a group of other kids coming in right after him. So if I push him back, they get pushed back, and then everything's kind of like, you know, yeah, it's crazy. But at the same time, they're getting to work, and you know, a lot of people complain and say that athletes don't have the heart or they don't do what they used to, and that's the old school mentality. I mean, every decade and a half, you know, people say that, and there's kids out there that still work hard. You know, there's kids that are going. I got young kids right now that are two different sports and they're every day like they have no break, and I'm big on kids having a break so they can recover and recoup. I know young athletes are resilient, you know, the younger they are, but you know they need a rest as well. So but it's fun, and to me that's what kind of keeps me going because it's always something new, you know. And
Right.
it's you never stop learning. I'm always an open book. So every night when I get home, I hang out with my kids, my family, and then usually when they're all getting ready for school or going to bed, I'm back on YouTube, just researching more things, you know. I mean, and taking what I like and throwing away what I don't like, you know.
Now, did you play multiple sports when you were a kid?
Younger, yeah, up till about 13 years old, I played football, uh, baseball, a little basketball. I played basketball right here at the YMCA. And then when I got to about the age of 14, I played baseball up to about 17. And then it was boxing. But I always wanted to stay active in other sports because that's another thing. I'm a big fan of kids playing different sports. You know, I think for whatever sport specific that is their favorite and that they want to do, say they just want to be a baseball player. I think playing basketball, football is going to do nothing but help, you know, the baseball. Anytime that you can have a kid out there just constantly being an athlete is going to help the athleticism. So I'm all for it. Plus, they have fun with it. When you kind of just drill a young athlete with one thing, he'll kind of get tired of it after a while. So
Yeah, keeping it fun is
yeah,
probably
and,
important.
and I think that helped me early on. You know, was being able to take the breaks from boxing. You know, and I think it was playing baseball and football was helping me with boxing, and boxing was helping me with football and baseball. You know, and I just stayed active with that, and I think it's great for young athletes to do that.
Yeah, you see, like even in the NFL, if a quarterback like misses one season, they're like toast for
Oh.
another season until they get back into that rhythm again.
At the even at the elite, it's even harder at the elite level, right? Boxing, you hear it, ring rust. You know, when a guy's out of boxing for you know a year or 8 months, they say he has ring rust. Well, that's the same in every sport. You know, the timing, and it's nothing that's real noticeable to the average fan. But when we're out there, yeah, like your timing's off just by that much. Well, at that level, that means a world of difference, and it could be for young kids too. You know,
Do you think those other sports though kind of keep their muscles going and their brain engaged in games that are fast moving?
it does, but it's still not the same as
Right.
real life action. You know, when you're out there and you miss the beat of it,
Yep.
you know, it's hard to pick up, and then it'll take you some time. You know, we see that with the Browns quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
you know, Watson.
You know he's elitely talented, but he missed all that
and
time.
the scary thing is, sometimes for as long as he's been out, he may not get that back. He may. I could be wrong. So nobody hold me to that.
Right.
But you know, and he may not. I've seen it in boxing. I've seen people that are young too. So I'm saying 22, 23 years old, getting ready to be right in their prime. They've take a year, just 1 year, and they never were able to get back into the swing of it at that level. So, it's kind of scary and dangerous, but sometimes, unfortunately in sports, athletes get hurt and they get hurt bad. And it takes them, 8 months, 10 months, a year to recoup and recover. So, yeah, it's crazy. And you got to know how to work with your athletes with that too. That's another thing with the strength conditioning, why I'm so involved in it, why I like it so much is because that's kind of a strength and conditioning coach's job too. You got to try to emulate as much as possible real life scenarios or real time sports scenarios, and you have to go out there and kind of get them, ready to do it. And I mean, it's not gonna replicate or mock it as much as I want to, but you have to try to come up with different ways to prepare that athlete who's been off for 8 months or 5 months. You got to come up with something that's going to prepare them to go back to the real thing again.
Now, with all these injuries that you see, especially like in football, these contact sports, that these kids are getting injured and big things like ACLs and whatever. Do you think like keeping up with the high intensity over a long period of time shortens the athlete's life over the long term?
Yeah. So there's two things, and it's kind of off of it a little bit, but I tell the guys at the gym, and I hate to say this, but it's really true. Like I'm really big. And a lot of people think I'm a softie not a lot of people, but some people may if I tell them. I'm real big on, like, if my kid comes to the gym and he's there 3 days in a row giving me all he got, like, I'm a big fan of him taking 2 days off. And if I could from his other sports, if I could talk to his coaches, I would. And I would be like, hey, let him stay home today. Let him sit and rest. The thing about strength conditioning and working the body out is, and people don't realize this, working out is not what makes you strong. It does, but it don't. It's working out is tearing the muscle down. Actually, it's actually just hurting the muscle. Rest and recovery time is what rebuilds. Okay, it's like a big defense mechanism. Like if you tear down, you go lift weights, right? What you're doing is you're tearing that muscle down, but your body says, "Man, I got to be able to repair for what you just did to me,
because he's going to do it again, and I got to be ready."
So if he does it again, I got to be ready.
Right.
But the right rest, good sleep. That's why you say good sleep and this and that. So same with sports, even if the kid's young, they recover quicker. But if they're going really, really hard, eventually it's going to do them more harm than good at all. And the rest period is very important, and that's when the body just recovers and recoups. And so that's a big part, and some of these coaches they don't understand that. Like they go, oh well, you got to be tough. Dude, that's the problem with these
balls
kids.
to the walls all the time.
That's the problem with these kids today is they're not. That's horseshit. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
But it is. These kids got to have the rest time so their body can recover, and then I want them to be able to come back where they could give me another 3 hard days. Right? What good is a kid coming to me going, oh man, I don't have it today. Yeah, and then I'm over here like, well, I don't know what to really do with you today, so it's a big part. With that being said, I think another issue with some of these injuries like that you had mentioned is, and this goes back to me and Non-Dash's arguments all the time, okay? People don't want to realize it, and believe me, I've kind of fallen into that category too, like my era, my generation was tougher. And we hear that. It's a big common thing now, right? Like all over, oh, these guys are soft and blah, 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 blah. And it's just ridiculous to say that. I mean, you got athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger than they've ever been. We've seen it in the records of 40-yard dashes. We see it in just 11 and 12-year-old kids in general, how much bigger they are today. So injuries are going to definitely be more common. These kids are just hitting a lot harder. They're a lot stronger. These professional athletes are faster and stronger. I mean, these NFL players, it's almost like a small car crash when they hit, at full speed. So you're going to see more injuries. I think what's being tough on kids and not giving them time to recover and heal, you're going to see even more injuries. because their body can only go through so much before.
Yeah, I'm even surprised like the athletes like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady can get into their 40s and still play at a high level when they take a beating their whole career.
Yeah, and they're quarterbacks, so they don't. A lot different being a quarterback from a running back and or a middle linebacker or even offensive lineman where you're constantly. Now, granted, on the flip side of it, I think when they put these rules in for quarterbacks, they should have them, because the one thing about being a quarterback is you could get hit blindsided, never knowing who's coming, the whiplash, everything else.
And a guy probably twice your size,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, coming at you.
So it's catch-22. I mean, running backs, yeah, they're getting hit every play, but they also could, brace themselves, and they know at the point of contact what to do. A quarterback standing there getting a 225-pound man that runs a 4.3 40, hitting you at full speed.
Amen.
With your back turned. Yeah, but it's just the quarterbacks, they can. And now on the flip side of it, what I will say is these guys, these NFL players, technology today, they got stuff out there to help them recover quicker. Tom Brady's got a lot of money, so he's probably got some of the best personal trainers and physicians, helping him get, recover quicker. So there's a lot that goes into that. But yeah, you should be able to play in your 40s if you're not getting hit. If you're fortunate not to get beat up too much, and you got $40 million a year, you're going to get the right.
Heck yeah.
You're going to get the right attention that you need.
Now, switching gears here, you've done a lot of national stuff. You've dealt with, reporters and the media and whatever. One of the conversations I had earlier in the day today was, like when politicians address the media. Like if you talk to a politician and they weren't on camera, it's a different version than when that camera clicks on and they go into like script mode. They're in stump speech mode. And what I like most about you is that it's always Kelly, no matter what.
Yeah.
You ever feel like though
I don't know
that
if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But
yeah, I mean, you've seen it with athletes. They turn on the camera and whatever. But so how do you? Because I know the media wants to hit you with gotchas, and they want to corner you and make something salacious out of things that you say. So how did you best defend it? By being real, the real Kelly Pavlik, at the same time defending against those gotchas.
yeah, it was just what you just said is just being me. You got to watch what you say no matter what, depending on what media outlet you're on, right? You got to kind of like tame it back somewhat, but I don't know. That's a good question, Joe. Like, it's like if you got a question and you want an answer.
Did you ever
sometimes be
rehearse
careful.
responses, like knowing that somebody's going to hit you with something, so you like, this is how I'm going to respond to it?
No, but there was I said some things I didn't mean to, and I wasn't trying to do it. Sometimes when you're talking, even to this day, because I'm the ADD, right? Like it's whatever's up here sometimes comes out.
Unfiltered.
I did one actually. You remember when Cafe Cemento used to be down here?
Okay. I don't, but
I think it was like right over here.
okay.
And we were holding I think it was one of my first times coming back home, or maybe the second time fighting back home. And I'm not going to repeat what I said.
Yeah, you better not.
Yeah. Nothing bad because it was on the news and everybody started laughing, but they asked me, like, and I tell you off air what I said, and I said something, and like everybody started laughing, and even the news anchors were laughing. I think Dana Balish was covering it, and he just kind of like at first was like, and they just started laughing. And so that was one of the moments, like, just came out. Nothing I could do about it, because I always with the media or when I'm getting interviewed, I'm just comfortable. I don't know why, and I felt like I was at the gym and somebody asked me a question, right? And so I just answered it like I would at the gym. No cuss words or anything was in it, but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's different with everybody.
But you never had to rehearse anyhow you
No.
were to respond to it. It was just however.
No,
you felt.
I can't say that throughout all the interviews. I guess the only time I rehearsed if it was something controversial or if I was mad about something, I kind of would have rehearsed in my head if they were to ask me a certain question, how I was going to go to it. But then usually I was really angry, and usually by the time I got in front of the mic, I was like, you know what, maybe I don't. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't now.
Oh, cool off period.
Yeah, because you know how that is.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes the longer a period of time goes, you kind of like the cooler heads prevail type.
Well, I think it's shitty sometimes where like something will just happen on the field and the reporters will go right up to it and ask the dumbest question like, "How is that?" Like they're gonna say, "Oh, it's great, rainbows and butterflies."
Yeah,
You know,
dude. Listen, people will disagree with me on this, but it sucks to be an athlete. It truly does. They'll be like, "Oh, well, you can pay millions." Like, it sucks. You can't. Think about some of the questions athletes get, or think about like on social media some of the things that are said about athletes. Picture if that everyday person that's saying that or that reporter, if people knew about what happened with them, that NFL player just came up and like put them on Front Street about it. You know what I mean? Or like if they got fired from their job at work and that athlete was like, hey, how's it feel to get, fired from your job after, only 2 years there?
Idiots.
Yeah. So, and I get it. When you're an athlete, you're out there, right? And you choose to be out there. So it's tough, but yeah, athletes do get it. I mean, it's part of the territory.
So some of it, like I used to work in NASCAR, and a lot of their PR departments would insulate the driver. Like the drivers, they want to kill each other and pummel each other. Might have just gotten a fight, and a reporter wants to talk to him.
Yeah.
But I'd watch these, like the PR person would be on one side of the camera, like giving directives about what to say and whatever. And a lot of those fiery tempers that would go there were interesting to watch, but the media just ate it up.
And you gotta understand from a journalist or a reporter's standpoint, that's just better for them, It's like I always try to figure out like where to get the guts to ask these questions at times like that. And I'm going, man, that's kind of like I wouldn't ask. I'm a professional athlete, former champion. Like I wouldn't ask a guy right at a time like that. I wouldn't even say half the things. But yeah, I give them credit. But hey, that's their job, and it probably sells better for them, and it's a better time to ask the questions. But yeah, I've had my fair share, with that. Then sometimes you get to questions like I think everybody in Youngstown remembers that one when Larry Merchant asked me what was going through my head, after the fight. And I was like, you really want to know the answer? And he was like, yeah. I go, oh shit, this is going to be a long night. How else do you answer that question? Right. And yeah, people to this day they love that one. I didn't think about that one either. It was just I didn't know what else to say at that point. What else would be going through your head when you
because you're not thinking about responding to a reporter in the moment. You just came off of a high or a low.
And you ask somebody like after getting rocked, what was going through your head? And I was like, probably a lot of swelling, a lot of dead brain cells. I'm not sure what was going through there.
All right, let's talk some visionary stuff because you and I both love Youngstown, big advocates for what happens here. So where do you see Youngstown in like 10 years? Do you think we rebound in all the ways that we should? What are you hopeful for?
Yeah, I see a lot in that situation. I think a lot comes from the people. It's a participation of everyone, pretty much. And it's really what it comes down to. Like everybody's got to be involved. It can't really just be a politician. It really just can't be a big known businessman, or a big name athlete. It has to be everyone, the everyday person, the politician, the big name. It has to be everybody coming together and figuring out like, what can we do? Right. I see a lot of work moving ahead and I see things happening in Youngstown, which is exciting. I do, a couple years ago, the amphitheater, there's different events, and it seems like there's different people and like the local people and the mayor trying to find things to do and events to hold in Youngstown to revive it, And I think compared to 10 years ago, we're a lot farther ahead. So I think if we keep going the way we're going and everybody kind of gets involved, I see a lot of big. I think Youngstown can be like it was. I don't know exactly how right I am, but the 60s, 70s, even up to the early 80s, I think Youngstown could be like that again. From all the stories I remember as a kid coming down here, and there was some places, it was kind of starting to become the fall, I guess, of Youngstown downtown. But there was businesses, like different little deli markets or shopping centers, and I believe you even had like a place for prescription glasses down here, where people could come down and get what they needed too if they lived in the city. I think getting more of that down here too as well will bring people back down.
Yeah, the one complaint I get is that kids don't have things to do. Like that, nothing ever is run just for the kids to stay engaged in something.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a great music scene at one time, and so everybody picked up a guitar in their garage and practiced and put a band together. Had places to play, and athletics weren't as competitive, so everybody could do pickup games anywhere. And I think well, why don't you tell people about you got a charitable organization underway? And so part of that is with the youth in mind. So why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah. Right now, I started this probably about 3 years ago. We got our 501c3, tax exempt, and we started really working and moving ahead with my charitable. And I actually did something on 21 News. And so now I'm a little hesitant on it because I don't want to keep coming out until we really have it,
Make it solid.
So put it this way. It's getting really close, and we are moving full steam ahead, right? And right now we're waiting on the location, the building. We have an LOI signed with the realtor and landlord, and that we're looking to get into, keeping our fingers crossed. And we have 3 or 4 other places right now that we are looking at in case this one does not work. The minute I'm able to get inside that location and it's mine is when I'm going to do a big media coverage on it. Okay. So like I'll approach the local news stations and I'll do my social media stuff because once we're in there, I could say, and I have something to show. Right. But that's going to be happening soon. But yes, it's the Kelly Pavlik charitable organization. We are looking to work with the youth. Okay. It's just not inner city either. So this is going to be the Tri-County area. So if you're from the inner city in Trumbull County, whether it's Warren, Youngstown, the suburbs, we're going to have a location that's available for everybody. We will have strength and conditioning like I do out in my gym now for all athletes. Okay. We will also be doing the boxing gym. Okay. And it's going to be a real nice boxing gym. We'll have that there. And again, it's for any kid from 4th through 12th grade. And this is free for all kids. We are working, I will have, and part of our phase, so we're doing, as of right now, we got 4 phases, but that could turn into 5 and 6 phases, okay? Our big plan right now is to have transportation for kids that can't make it, that won't be able to get a ride, or whatever the situation is. We're working on ways to have transportation for them. We're working on having counselors, tutors, and even food available for the kids when they come there. So the location right now we're looking at is Boardman, but just either just south of 224 or just north of 224. So right there, you're just a spit throw away from Youngstown, but you're right in the middle of everyone. You know what I mean? So everybody could get there. And like I said, we'll work on the transportation. I'm really excited about it. I think that it could benefit a lot. I mean, it's going to be something that kids can come. I always said, if you could get kids off the streets for even 2 hours a day, just say it was just boxing, that's huge. But now when you're able to give these kids, if they need help with school, if they need counseling for maybe what's going on at home, that's going to be there for them. If they're hungry, a lot of kids don't have outlets where they could go eat, or have food when they come home ready for them. Here, our big goal is to have that, so every kid that comes there, they can eat. And if they spend 3 hours, 4 hours, that's a plus. And now they also got something that they want to work hard at, right? And now they also, we're going to be strict on school. Getting in trouble at school and getting good grades is going to be a big thing. So now there's structure, you know what I mean? And we're really excited about that. And again, I do want to train fighters, so I'll have my gym in Columbiana, but I'll also have strength conditioning here, so I could work with the guys on that, no matter what sport they're in. But even boxing, I can make sure that they're getting their strength conditioning. And then the boxing part is going to be big too. I'm just looking forward. I think, you have good gyms in the area. And I just think adding one more and like really working with the kids on their form and their boxing will help a lot as well. So we're moving, but I will keep everybody posted. Like I said, we're really close. I mean, we've gotten everybody. We have a board. You're actually on the board, right? So we got you, a couple other guys. Everybody that we're bringing in has a big part, and it's a lot for people to take on, because everything got to be ran the right way. And again, it all becomes about the youth, no matter where they're from, all walks of life. It's about them, and we're really excited about that.
So do you think you're going to get, obviously we got some scrappy talent in this area. Do you think you're going to unearth some talent and then bring them through the ranks and maybe give some kids the hope at doing it professionally?
Yeah, when they come there, believe me, my time is going to be put in with them, and they're going to get top of the line work, and they're going to have everything that they need for it. And again, this is all based off of how they perform in school too, though. The
sure.
big part of this, that me and my buddy and partner and another business, and of course with this charitable, that's our big thing with the youth. Like, academics is first, or getting the personal life on track, is a big thing for me, obviously. And so that's first and foremost. But then the boxing is, and the strength training for sports, that's a huge part. So yeah, when they come, believe me, the time is going to be put in with them.
Absolutely.
If they don't win, they're going to make it a tough fight. They're going to know what they're doing when they get into it. So, and then we also have there will be a for-profit part of it. So I have my gym, and I'm planning on doing the for-profit part as my other gym. That's the name of it,
Okay.
right? My son came up with that.
Nice.
So I want to explain on that. My gym wasn't, a lot of people might think that it's like, oh, arrogant, like, oh, my gym, right? But when you go to a new gym, most of the time people are nervous, right? Or like unsure because it's new to them, right? So the reason why I named it my gym was so people feel a little more comfortable, like, hey, where are you going to work out? Oh, I'm going to my gym.
My gym, right? Yeah.
So my son one day was like, we were talking about this, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to put, because if it's going to be a big facility that we're going into. And I was like, I'm probably going to do another strength conditioning like facility in there, and we're going, my wife goes, what are you going to call it? And he goes, you should name it my other gym. I was like, oh, so now if somebody asks you, where are you going? My gym? No, I'm going to my other gym,
Nice.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, have you kind of kept track of the business of boxing now, and being able to take people from performing locally and competing locally up through the ranks, like you went?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. When I got back into it, it was all coverage, the podcast. So I was just covering pros. I would go to all the big fights in New York from probably about the end of 2015 to up to about 2021, beginning of 21. And I covered fights, pro fights. I pay attention to some on a local scene of the amateur fighters, and I go to the amateur shows. I've been involved enough, and the local scene and boxing, but it won't take much for the national scene, right? Working with Zion a little bit, strength conditioning. I follow her fights and see what they do. Everything's kind of ran the same, as when I was doing it. So, that'll be more of the hands-on part.
And you still think like there are enough big names like Triple G and those guys to get the youth inspired, kind of motivated to want to pursue boxing?
Yeah. The hardest part is going to be getting the kids there, right? There's just not a lot in this area. There's not a lot of draw to boxing right now. I think a lot of the gyms are kind of seeing that. But I think if you could get them there and get them in the building and show them, the fun side of boxing, but also, get them the right training and the progress that they'll see, I think it'll rejuvenate the sport in the area. I really do, but the whole thing is getting them getting them into the doors.
Well, I think the big thing is I think fighting became too technical with like MMA, where when you're sitting in your living room watching boxing, you can almost picture that you could kind of go a couple rounds with somebody, and it's something that you could do. But with Taekwondo and all of jiu-jitsu and all that, implementing MMA, it's harder for me to picture ever going in the room with someone who could break me in half in like 30 seconds.
And that's the crazy part about it. You know, I'm not saying this because I was a boxer, but boxing probably, you know, actually I have, he was a former world champion. His name was Chris Algieri. He fought Manny Pacquiao, you know, a lot of big names. And he was an undefeated world champion kickboxer, and he did martial arts. And I asked him the one day out of curiosity, I said, what's harder, boxing or martial arts? He goes, hands down, boxing. He goes, hands down. He goes, what hurts a little more? He goes, absolutely getting kicked by somebody that knows what they're doing. And he goes, it feels like a small car wreck, you know, getting hit. He goes, but boxing, because in boxing, we just have our hands. There's only so many moves. And that's why they call it the sweet science. It's a constant chess match. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of learning in it. And there's a lot of, which is why a lot of your MMA guys and martial art people learn to box. Because no martial art out there, and we could argue till somebody's blue in the face. It's already been a proven fact. There is no martial art out there that can use their hands like boxers.
Right.
Because that's all we have to use, right? We don't have to worry about throwing kicks or grappling, you know? And so a lot of them come over to boxing to learn that for stand-up. And boxing's tough that way. It really is. And that's why Chris said, he goes, you know, I was undefeated as a kickboxer. He goes, boxing, he's like, it was just a lot harder. You know, you have to really, you get in there with guys that perfected their craft and were just, not only that, but so if you get a guy who's super talented and athletic as hell, his fast twitch, he's just fast, quick reaction time, like a Floyd Mayweather. And then you get a guy that's a brawler, just say like Raul Marquez, right? Now here's a guy that just comes in, tries to wear you down. Well, yeah, you know, so at that point, the brawler got to figure out a strategy to offset the speed and reflexes, right? Because, hey, yeah, for 4 rounds, I may not be able to hit this guy much. But if I keep him moving,
he'll tire out.
Hopefully I can tire him out.
Hell yeah.
Well, the problem comes, sometimes these guys don't tire out. You know what I mean? Like Mayweather. So it's always just like trying to learn and figure out and have a good strategy. There's a lot to boxing that people don't really know. You know, they see the fights on TV and it just looks like boom, 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 boom. But every second that you're in there is you're just like calculating a certain move. And then if you get hit, you got to kind of show that you're not hurt, or you're trying to figure out how not to get hit with that punch again. And how can you counter it and hit him? Breaking down the rounds. When do you want to start picking it up? You know, yeah, there's just a lot that's involved.
A lot of mental, like a lot of
it is.
Coordination and strategy.
Yeah, all while trying not to get your brain scrambled, right?
Crazy?
You know, yes, it is.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming in, talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Joe.